As the disciples saw the Lord being persecuted on all sides and saw that the gospel was not readily welcomed, they were worried. Will the kingdom of Christ stand at all? The Lord told them that it was not the sower who was responsible for growth. Just as a seed grows and bears fruit all by itself, whether one is asleep or awake, the role of mankind is only supplementary. He emphasized that God Himself carries out the ministry of salvation. He also encouraged them by saying that the kingdom of God may look small at first, but will later appear great by the work of God. It is like a tiny mustard seed which grows and becomes such a big tree that birds rest on its branches. Do you feel the duty you are given in church is smaller than other people's? Do you think the fruits produced by your faith look more insignificant than others? You need to know something before you make a hasty conclusion. You cannot judge a person's true faith or spiritual state by looking on the outside. Since duties are given by God, there is no such thing as a small duty. God gives out the appropriate duties to those He wants, and by doing so, carries out His work. So we should understand that the duties given to each of us are God's calling and do them faithfully. God gave us duties so we can be glorified in the eternal kingdom of heaven. Moreover, duties are how God leads us to prepare for the day when our salvation is complete. That is, so our salvation does not go wrong. If we treat our duties lightly or try to gain a so-called better duty because of greed, this will be a huge misfortune for us. Many people hold to the idea that God is the one who helps me. The fundamental purpose for God being with us is not to help us, but to call us to help His work. Ironically, this work is to protect us from the enemy and ensure we are saved, and it is a chance given by the church to change ourselves into people worthy of heaven. We must be careful not to judge the church's work from our own perspective. It is not our own achievements which are important, but the work God does through the church. We merely do His errands. If we have resentment because we judge that the church's work is not happening as we like, we should be careful of falling into the enemy's temptation. We must stay awake and not oppose God's purpose, especially by solving problems with our own wisdom and ability. We are those who possess Jesus' name. This is how God lifted us up. This does not mean we should elevate ourselves and fall into arrogance. Jesus' name is in us. This does not mean it reveals power all by itself, disconnected from God. It means we became one with the God of salvation and must glorify God's name with our lives. If God lifted us like this, let's try not to lift ourselves higher like we still lack something. Let's faithfully handle our duties, no matter how small they look. Jesus' name is like a mustard seed. Mark chapter 4, verses 26 through 32. Sungrak Church, Lord's Day service on May 16, 2021. Sermon by Overseer Sung-Hyun Kim. Produced by the Sungrak Mission Center.